Experience tranquility. Pass into the iris.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Iris Podcast. I'm your host, Bowsy. Joining me here today, once again, we have Fish and we have Davino on the desk. How are you two doing on this fine Monday evening?
They're pretty good.
Yeah, I'm vibing.
Chilling and vibing, there's a good reason to vibe, especially as we enter the final week of the regular season of Tranquility Season 10. We made it, guys. We're here. It's the final week of the regular season, and to kick things off, we need to recap everything that happened last week and look forward to the future with our first section known as Amp It Up. Starting off with your favorite moment from Week 8. Starting off with you, Fish. What was your favorite moment from last week in Tranquility?
Gotta be all the map 5s. There were just so many, and I think a lot of them were entertaining.
Yeah, definitely a lot of map 5s last week in Tranquility. A lot of that on action to watch there. Navino, what was your favorite moment from week number 8?
From a biased note, I'm really happy about the win versus Cosmic, being undefeated in A group. So definitely my favorite moment.
Yeah, definitely. Beat Drop Bears getting that big win over Cosmic Castaways, cementing themselves currently as the first place team in that pool. So we'll see if they're able to keep that going into the final week. My favorite moment, I look specifically at Luminous Foxes, your preseason runner-ups, have had a rough season, but they were able to make a comeback so far this stage, and they were able to beat Mets Gaming 3-1. So they've already pretty much locked themselves into the championship bracket, albeit some situations do not have them in the championship bracket. Regardless, good comeback from Luminous here in stage number 2. Hopefully they'll be able to carry that momentum into the final week and into stage number 2, or into the playoffs, that is. Speaking of that, we have one more week of the regular season. Fish, what are you most looking forward to this week?
Yeah, you just kind of touched on it, but definitely the seeding scenarios and all the playoff matchups I think are interesting to theorize about. And it's probably my favorite time, part of this time of the season.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things to theorize. Spoiler alert, Discord tier is an absolute nightmare to try and figure out all the playoff scenarios for. I would go into it, but we would extend into midnight. Navino, what are you most looking forward to in week 9?
I feel like it's all about the playoffs, but I'm actually really looking forward to the bounce back games, as I call it, where Avalon loses a tough map 5, right? So does a Space Created. These teams that have lost these map 5s are like Clairvoyance getting 4-0'd by Koala, Geo forfeiting to Onigiri. How do these teams bounce back, right? The last game is most important to decide your future. How do they decide that?
Yeah, we'll have to see how well these teams are able to bounce back, especially after some grueling losses last week. I'm most looking forward to the matches up against the juggernauts of the tiers we've seen so far. Most notably, I'm looking forward to the Harmony tier match where PosChamp and Onigiri are going to be facing off. Both teams currently undefeated all season. Onigiri has not dropped a map and are looking very strong heading into that matchup. And PosChamp obviously have been a strong team all season. I'm pretty sure they've lost only 2 maps all season. So that'll be an interesting match to watch. And I'm also looking forward to the matchup that these two would be happy to tell you about. That is the Beat Drop Bears versus MI7 in the Discord tier, which is going to be interesting. Your preseason champions taking on the currently undefeated Beat Drop Bears.
It's not even looking.
We will definitely see how well that matchup will go. So definitely a lot of fun things to look forward to as we enter the final week of the regular season. But let's look forward past the regular season for a bit. And let's focus a little bit on the playoffs. Give me a bold prediction for the playoffs before they even begin, Fish.
I would probably say a team from a Group A in any 3 division, a Group A team will not make the champ bracket.
We've had many situations where a Group A team or a top group team has not made the championship bracket. We'll see if that's the case this season. Navino, what about you? A bold prediction for the playoffs?
I'll do this just because it's kind of low-hanging fruit. A Marsupio team does not make champ bracket, which would be the first time. So,
yeah, we'll definitely see Marsupio Gaming.
Fish, are you trying to think of one?
Yeah, I'm thinking if I think that's true. No, I think they will.
You think they all make it? Okay.
We'll see what happens. Definitely Marsupio has a great resume underneath their belts, have a lot of championship bracket appearances. So
is
we'll
it
see.
6 champ bracket for Trans?
8. It is still 8 for
Yeah,
champ
they
bracket.
all make it.
Oh, it's 8 for trans.
It's 8 for
Dang
every
it.
team.
I thought Dukes or Boomers would miss out, to be honest. If it was like because it was 6. If it was 6 again, all right. Well,
there still is a potential for one of our Super team to not make the champ bracket. That definitely is possible. It's in the realm of possibility. So we'll see if it happens. My bold prediction. It seems like we're all focusing on the champ bracket today. I'm gonna go straight for the throat of one of the most accomplished teams in Tranquility. I'm gonna say one of the Nostalgia Org teams will not make the championship bracket. Obviously, Nostalgia, very, very successful organization, but they've looked a little bit shaky outside of a Transcendence here this season. So I think this season could be the first we see.
I can see it happening, but I don't know.
I think it would have to be. Well, actually, no. I think
Flashbacks is probably most likely. Yeah,
I think. But I
they're just cursed by Tyler, bro.
They've looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I think I'd say they would.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see if Nostalgia teams will be able to make it.
Maybe Rem if they run into some good. If they
yeah, because that's the thing with the seeding. Rem is just gonna have like a
gauntlet.
They're just gonna have to they're gonna probably get knocked into losers early, and then it's
because the first seed from their group gets 7th, and they play the 2 seed in A.
So it will be either.
So odds are it'll be us or you guys that plays Rem round 1. To be honest,
it's probably I think it will be us. I think we're gonna play Rem first round, and that's gonna be
unless Cosmic gets first seed. I get it's so weird, bro.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of calculations going back to Fish's point about the playoff matches and the seeding scenarios. It's a mess in Discord tier, so we'll have to see what happens and how if all these bold predictions are going to come true when the playoffs start next week. But this week is now, and we have to start wrapping up everything that's going to be going on this week. Starting off with the final edition of the Iris Top 8. Of course, every single week since week 3, the content creation team has been ranking the top 8 teams in Tranquility in every single tier and basing them based off of, hopefully not bias, but more so their performances. So, for the final time this season, we have our Iris Top 8 teams as voted by the content creation team. Starting off in the Harmony tier, in 8th place is the Galactic Penguins, 7th place is the Flashbacks, 6th place is Doodles, or not Doodles, Clairvoyance. 5th place is Doodles. 4th place is Geometric. 3rd place, Onigiri. 2nd place, the Koala Kings. And in 1st place is Pause Champ. Fish, your thoughts on the Iris Top 8 for week number 9?
I actually think it's good. I think GP is maybe a spot too low. Maybe you put GP
they're
at
0-2 in their group, dude. They're 0-2.
Yeah, but they've gone 5. They've gone to 5 both times.
Yeah, but they're still 0-2, and they lost. Yeah, I think they're gonna lose to Koala. I think they're gonna go 0-3.
Yeah, they probably will, but it's a tough group. They're playing top 5 teams.
I mean,
currently, so if they've lost to Doodles in 5, they've lost to Clairvoyance in 5, and they're gonna lose to Koala. As of right now, that would mean that's all top 6 teams.
Okay,
I think that's the only. I think that's the. I really think Harmony's actually pretty good.
I think Strict, and I'll transition to my takes here, Bowsy, but I think Strix. Okay, so my notes are: I think Doodles are above Geo right now. Geo going 0-2. Yes, they forfeited the second game, but Doodles will just actually have games played. So I'm gonna go Doodles above Geo right now. I actually don't know if I like GP or Clairvoyance in right now. Because I think Strix and even maybe FBRD, who has really dominated their group, you can make an argument for top 8 right now. They were top 8 at the beginning of the season. They lost their group out and went to they're C or D group right now. But they've looked dominant in that group. So I think you can make an argument for any of those. I get why people put GP and Clairvoyance in there. I get why people and I'm not saying any of those teams are bad. I just think the top 8's really hotly contested right now.
Yeah, I agree.
I think, Clairvoyance, I think, is a very good team. I just need to see more flexibility from them. I think, because they did, even though it was a 4-0, they did play Koala pretty close on pretty much all the maps.
You have to keep Clairvoyance in over GP because Clairvoyance.
I would agree with that.
So Clairvoyance BGB. So I think it's If
Maybe
anyone,
Strix is.
yeah, I
really
think it's
gets
Strix
in
or
there.
GPs, right? Like that's pretty much the argument.
Or I mean, but also Strixo too.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
I know you can just keep making argument, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to like quantify these stage 2 games because like we had teams going winless that though were dominant stage 1. So it's like
it's just the groups are really accurate in Harmony tier this season, and I think like unlike in Discord and Trance, where I think you have people in lower groups that are better than people in higher groups, I think in Harmony it's pretty accurate. So you get like
yeah, except I think honestly, except for again, we go back to FBRD, they're dominating.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so definitely Harmony tier has seen its shakeups, it's seen its matchups, but definitely the top 8 teams have been pretty consistent all season. Apart from like 1 or 2 instances where we had some teams that were either not in there or should have been in there. So we'll see what the what happens as this season goes on if his top 8 stays true. But let's go over to the next tier, which is the Discord tier, and there's a very noticeable name on this, but we'll get to that. In 8th place is Avalon, 7th place Reminiscence, 6th place Trigonometric back on the board, 5th place the Wildcat Boys, 4th place Paradise Lost, 3rd place MI7, 2nd place Cosmic Castaways, and in 1st place, finally, is the Beat Drop Bears. Fish, your thoughts on this top 8?
We failed.
The handlebar mustache is truly the number one. You know, this stash is number 1.
Yeah, it's fine. I think it's I kind of talked about this last week. It's the same thing. I would have Rem and Avalon, or Rem and Avalon are the 7th, 8th. I would have Rem and Avalon at 5, 6, and then Catboys at 7 and 8. Catboys and Trig at 7.
I don't know about that. Like, cause like to me, both teams, Avalon's very gimmicky, you know, and we kind of saw that in like Rem has like instability that I doubt. I think this top 8 is really accurate given how bodies.
Okay, let me ask you this: No, if Trig and Rem play tomorrow, who are you printing?
Trig.
That's crazy to me.
No, you know why? You know why? Because the team, like, I don't think Rem is getting any better. Like, I think that they look the exact same. They have the same issues that I talked about when they lost to Pumpkin Dogs. Like, they have the exact same issues. I think Rem is a good team. It's just, like, I feel like I'm not seeing improvement.
We gotta move on.
Sorry. And I believe, and I agree with, I also think that about Wildcat Boys, by the way. I'm sorry, Phoebe. I know you're in chat. I think the same way about y'all. You have the same issues you had from the... All right. Sorry.
Navino, your thoughts on the top 8?
We already got him. We're good. Fish and I just go back and forth. We verbally spar.
Fair enough. All right. Well, definitely Discord tier has been interesting. I will highlight something that you said in your initial outline, and that is that Group A is super close. You're not wrong. Every single match, save for one in Group A, has gone to a map 5. So I think it's safe to say all these teams are super close in that top 4. Like this top 4 right down there, super close. That could change any day of the week. We've seen it change every single day, so definitely an interesting scoreboard as someone's LG washer goes off. But
that's you guys could hear that.
Yeah, we could hear that. Sounds as washed as you are. Anyway, moving on to our final team.
You know, that's a good one. I'll give you that. That was a good one. Dang, bro.
Moving on to our final tier. That is the Transcendence tier. In 8th place is Singularity. 7th place, the Wyverns. 6th place, the Devil Dukes. 5th place is Hammerhead. Why am I dropping frames? I am going to kill my internet provider. 4th place, Fleet Angels. 3rd place, Billings Boomer. 2nd place, Amnesia, not Avalon. Amnesia 2nd place, and in 1st place is the Guangzhou Gangsters. Funny enough, it's right when I mentioned Devil Dukes that my frames started dropping.
I was gonna mention that.
I love the Devil Dukes. Fish, talk about only the Devil Dukes. I'm kidding. Tell me your thoughts on this top 8.
I think it's good. The top 6, I 100% agree with, and then I think Reckless Delta deserves a shout. They've had a really good stage 2. And I think Singularity have had a pretty bad stage 2, so I think you can make an argument for them over that. But I agree.
Davino, your thoughts on this top 8?
I'm not sure if Dukes are top 8 right now. I'm sorry, to Fish. And like
you
pains
act like I care. I've not been a part of any of their losses, man.
Hey, you're still on the roster though, so you still vibe there. But like, and everyone's like, Like I really don't like. I just have not been impressed with them. They fail to adapt. They fail to. Fish and I have talked ad nauseum and like our DMs and like on private voice channels about our opinions of the Devil Dukes situation. But like, I feel like with a roster that's this talented, they should not be losing the games they're losing. I think they sub too many people in. I don't know what's going on with them. And this honestly might be candidacy for the truth, like why Midmaster is called Midmaster. I love you, Dab, but it pains me to see a team like Devil Dukes, like with such a rich history in trans tier, like me having to say, like, I don't think they're top 8 right now. And like, I think you can make an argument for Hammerhead over Fleet Angels. I think those are kind of interchangeable. There's an argument to be made, but Fleet Angels have just looked really good and have kind of dominated the B pool. So, also, Aplom, you did not carry that fraud brand. Shush your mouth. Aplom, shush.
Funny.
Like, but I actually do currently though rate Fleet Angels better than Hammerhead, but I can see the argument.
I can see the argument as well because you went to map 5, or Devil Dukes went to map 5 against Hammerhead. Fleet Angels took out Devil Dukes in 4, so I can see why.
Well, no, technically, wasn't it only 4 maps for Hammerhead because it was a draw? It was 2-1-1.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure it was 2-1-1.
It was 2-1-1.
It was 2-1-1. Okay,
Yeah. So both teams went to 4, but it was like.
But it was a draw for 1. It was a +1 for. Yeah, I was just looking at the standing sheet. It said +1. I assumed map 5, but no.
No. It was because of a draw.
Fair enough, but yeah, definitely like you can make an argument for that. Devil Dukes gets a draw over Hammerhead. Fleet Angels gets that win over Devil Dukes instead. So you can make an argument for either side, but I definitely think the match this week against both of these teams,
Hammerhead, Fleet Angels is going to be a really cool match to watch, and versus their similar opponents, both have looked very similar with decent results. So they're really interchangeable right now.
Yeah, so definitely going to be interesting to see those two teams face off in what is the final week, and definitely will be interesting to see how this top 8 keeps going, how this top 8 holds up when we get into the playoffs and get all that sort of messy stuff going. But there are all your Iris top 8s every single week. That is your last Iris top 8 of the season as we enter the playoffs. Speaking of the playoffs, that leads us right into our section of the day, which is time to talk about playoff scenarios. The playoffs start next week, and there are a lot of different scenarios that every single tier has in front of them. Teams can be trying to vouch for better seeds or lower seeds in the final week of the season. So this is probably the easiest one for my analysts, because I just ask them some questions and they give me their answers. Congratulations, Fish and Navino. You're probably going to be extending this by over 5 minutes anyway.
Hey. At least it's content,
More
baby.
content, baby.
It's content. I got my cool. Anyway,
it's good content, and it allows you to get more Trank bucks so that you can redeem points for a free shirt from the Tranquility Store. Noted, there may not be an announcement of a giveaway winner. I did get a message that our giveaway the person that sets up our giveaways is currently not home and they cannot get the giveaway in, so I will let you know if we do have a giveaway winner at the end of the show. But worst comes to worst, these two stall it out for an hour and we somehow get the giveaway winner in. But regardless of which, let's dive into some of these playoff scenarios, starting off in the Harmony tier and starting off in Pool A with the teams that I mentioned before, Onigiri and Pause Champ. They currently both stand at the top of the Harmony tier as they face off next week to determine the number 1 and 2 seeds respectively. Fish, who comes out on top in this matchup between the two juggernauts of the Harmony tier?
I'm gonna go Pause Champ, and it's purely speculation. I want to give Onigiri their respect. They have done literally everything they could. It reminds me of Koala Kings last season, where everyone was doubting them kind of for no reason. Onigiri's done everything in their power to be rated high. I just value Pause Champ's wins more. I've seen Pause Champ beat super high level teams, and unfortunately the Geo forfeit. It's unfortunate. I think if I would have saw Onigiri play Geo last game, then I would have. I could take their mind.
Yeah, definitely one of the weird things where, again, I'll just flow into my answer, Bowsy, for you.
By all means, makes my life easier. Don't have to talk so much.
So, I also picked Pause Champ. I think Onigiri's kind of the Husky show at this point. Husky has been really, really great. And every time I look at them, anytime it looks like they're about to lose, it's because Husky gets pressured. And this is one of the and like I was really hoping to see them play a team that accurately pressured Husky and like the Geo forfeit doesn't necessarily hurt them, but doesn't help them either, if that makes sense. Because like it's hard to quantify that win without seeing them play each other. That being said, they're definitely like top 3 team in the tier. We've talked about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this game versus PosChamp, like we will see what happens. And I PosChamp winning right now. I just think on a team based level, the talent's more spread out. Well, I think Onigiri is kind of a one person show right now.
Yeah, and just quickly before we go on, I think PosChamp showed a lot in that Strix game where they like went behind, like they lost map 1, and then for the rest of the series they just locked in. They completely smoked Strix for the rest of the set, and I think that's something that good teams do.
And I think that's even more impressive than 4-0ing. That was like I think my knock on Koala last season when they had when I was on the podcast was like even though they're 4-0ing all these teams, like there's maps where they actively only win because someone just pulls something out of their butt because they were just mechanically a better team, right? And I feel like Onigiri hasn't been challenged, but I also bring back to like they did like I feel I struggle to call this still a perfect season for them with like no maps drop when they still technically lost the map again at Gatekeepers, but then they dropped out. So it's like they still got that win, obviously.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, they but like so it'd be really funny if they did go like 32-0, over the 8 games. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how this matchup faces off. Again, these two teams have been really good all season. Onigiri, not a single map lost all season. PosChamp has only lost like 2. So it's going to be really interesting to see these two teams face off and determine who is the best in Harmony tier. Let's go down to the next pool, Group B, where we see two teams that have had very interesting seasons, Doodles and Clairvoyance. They are currently set to battle for the second upper bracket spot from their pool, with third place not being guaranteed for the loser. Who holds the best chance of climbing up to the 4th seed in the playoffs, Fish?
So I'm gonna use your wording. You said best chance. Best chance is Doodles. However, they sometimes just don't care. So you never know. But I think Doodles is definitely the better team of the two, in my opinion. But that does not mean they'll win.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the risky run when you put Doodles in anything.
Yeah, I mean, when you say Doodles doesn't care, take a look at Week 5 when you notice that sort of situation there. Navino, what about you? Who do you think has the best chance of clinching the 4th seed from Group B?
I actually went Clairvoyance, mostly because I do think like Nevermore and their Addison, their Soj player, are like truly game changers. And even when they got pressured, like here's the thing: the reason Koala beat both these teams is because Koala was better macro wise than them pretty much at all times. Doodles aren't going to have that same macro understanding, right? They did just go to map 5 with GP, which is the same amount of maps that Clairvoyance went with them. Like, even though, like, yes, they took a map off Koala, right? I just think Clairvoyance will clutch up here. Thanks, April.
Yeah,
but like, we have to compare like similar opponents here as well. But I just am convinced in Addison and Nevermore to do it, So I'm going with Clairvoyance, even though statistically Doodles does have a better chance because of the map differential stuff. But whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see which team takes that because both of them have been pretty good. And also, you say like map differential stuff. I don't think map differential matters because they're both 1-1. The loser would go 1-2.
But
yeah, he's right.
No, but it would matter what seeding they get in terms of
right.
Like if GP beats
if GP beats Koala Kings, there is a
like then there is a world where actually one of them gets the 3rd seed.
Yeah, one of them.
That's where map diff. Yeah, and so you asked me who has the best chance to get the 3rd seed, right? Oh, or I misunderstood that, but
yeah,
Doodles technically statistically have the best chance to get the 3rd seed if they win.
Yeah, it would be the 4th seed if they win the if the winner of this match gets the 4th seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, at least 4.
Yeah,
as long as Koala doesn't get 4-0'd. No, sorry.
Well,
Words. You know what? Can you move on? We're moving on.
yeah, might as well move on. My brain's starting to melt.
I don't know what these guys are talking
My
about.
brain's
These
starting to
guys
melt.
don't know what they're
All the
talking about.
files are loose. Everything's starting to go mess. Speaking of files, how about Disclosedent? They are very close to locking up the final spot in the upper bracket of the playoffs, but have to take on the sneaky dark horse in Chrysalis to do so. Who comes out to get out the number 8 seed in the playoffs? Fish.
Just close it in. I think they're in a different tier of team. I think the top, like I think in Harmony there's like a top 10, and then there's a break, or a top 11 because of FBRD. But I think they're in that like top like upper echelon of teams. They've had honestly, I said this last week, they've had a really underrated season, and I mean they've continued it. So I would pick them.
Navino, what about you? Who is coming out to get that number 8 seed? Disclosant or Clairvoyance? Or not Clairvoyance, Chrysalis. I'm tired.
I also did Disclosedent. I think like Chrysalis has looked better as a whole team. You know, I go back to the macro versus individual play, right? At times, and I think Disclosent is kind of the CVS Pharmacy show a lot of the time. So that could come back to bite them, but I also just don't think Chrysalis has the firepower to just shut down a single player. Even if, as a whole, I think they might be slightly better, you know? So I would disclose it.
Yeah, definitely. Disclosing have been pretty strong this season. Definitely a rise up from obfuscation last season, albeit different team. So we'll see if Disclosing are able to get that upper bracket spot. Let's start going down to the D tier, where unfortunately, or the pool, the D pool. Unfortunately, all the teams in this are in the lower bracket, but it's all a matter of seeding. And speaking of seeding, how about the two teams that have had very rough seasons? Aimbots and Chicago Mafia. Very rough stage 2 so far, but they must face each other to determine the number 17 seed in the playoffs. Who overcomes adversity to claim this spot, Fish?
I originally had Chicago Mafia in this spot because I feel like as a team, if we're just talking momentum, Chicago Mafia has more momentum as a team. They had a better end of stage 1. And even though their stage 2 has been rough, I think they still have confidence as a team. Aimbots, they've had some really rough weeks. It's been a while since you can really say they've like looked good as like a team. I mean, I think maybe the map 5 against Basement Dwellers, they looked like decent. And I think I truly think Aimbots is a better team than Chicago Mafia, but I think Chicago Mafia has more confidence right now. So I think it will be just the team that plays better that day, which is kind of just Overwatch. But I'm going Aimbots. John L's my boy. Gotta go.
Navino?
In true Navino fashion, I must hate on John L. I must be an op. You know, there are only a few people I truly am an op for on this podcast. That's Train. Always Train. John L. and A-Plom. Those 3. 1 per tier. And John L., you know, I'm sorry, my guy. I just have so little faith in Aimbots at this point. Like, I feel like whenever we talk about them, you're like, oh, we're gonna win, and then you lose, like literally without fail every time he's on the podcast.
Expectations are too high. He says they're gonna win against teams that they just don't have a chance.
I appreciate the confidence, though. I do, and I'm sorry, John L. I'm sorry. You know that they did take Insidious to map 5, which I did not expect. I thought Insidious was 4 of them.
That's true.
So there is some bright side there, but I just think Chicago Mafia have looked better overall. So I'm going with not. I have to be an op now. So I'm an op for John L.
Yeah, definitely will be interesting to see how well that matchup goes, because that's going to be an interesting match, because one of those teams is getting their first win in quite a while. I look back at the standings. Aimbots have not won a match since week 3, and Chicago Mafia have not won since stage 1. Yeah. Aimbots' last win, to my knowledge, was against Colorado Carbon, 4-0 in week 3. They have not won a match since.
They've had a harder schedule.
Yeah.
That's so tragic, dude.
Yeah, and I believe Chicago Mafia, they have not won a match since week 5, where they played up against... I'm trying to look for that matchup here, because I know it's somewhere. Oh, yeah, they beat the Pew Pew Plunderers in a 3-1 matchup, so... It'll be interesting to see how that matchup shakes up, because that could really be a close one.
Speaking of the Pew Pew Plunderers, Bowsy.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of that team, let's talk about them. The Pew Pew Plunderers and Ragnarok Freya both have had very less than optimal seasons, but they both have a chance to get the number 14 seed for the playoffs. Who wins this battle of Space Pirates versus Norse Goddesses? Fish.
It's actually the exact same reasoning as before with this team. Is I think Freya is a better team. Unfortunately, Freya has kind of had the same thing as Abots, where they just they have not won a game in a while. But I think they're a better team, so I'm going right around Freya.
Navino, what about you? Who's winning this matchup?
I went with Pew Pew Plunderers. Just like I'm an op for Train, I gotta be. I gotta.
Potatoes, I'm sorry.
Huh?
Sorry, I misspoke. I didn't. I shouldn't have said they haven't beat a team in a while. I should have said they haven't had a really impressive win in a while.
Okay, yeah. But anyway. Just like how I'm an op for Train, I'm an apathy stan. Xanthippe for the win. Pew Pew Plunderers. I don't know anyone else. I know PvP is on that team, but I'm truly an apathy stan at this point. I'm an op for Train and apathy stan. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely. The Pew Pew Plunderers will be interesting to see how well they're able to take up against Ragnarok Freya, and we'll see which team is able to come out on top in that matchup. But there are all of the questions I have for the Harmony tier. Now it's time to get to the interesting one with the Discord tier. Starting off in the Pool A, where, hey, it's kind of funny. MI7 and Beat Drop Bears faced off this week to potentially determine the first seed. How fitting I have both of their representatives here on the podcast. So we're going to do something fun. You each have 30 seconds. Why is your represented team going to win? This is not saying that you think your team is going to win. Tell me why your team will win. Give a hypothesis this is why MI7 is going to win for Fish, or this is why Beat Drop Bears are going to win for Navino. So, Fish, we're going to start with you. I'm going to put 30 seconds on the clock, and you're going to tell me why you think MI7 are going to win that matchup. So, starting in... Give me a second. I just got to get the timer set up because I totally was not prepared for this. All right, Fish. Starting now, give me a reason why MI7 will win that matchup.
All right, here's the deal. Other than the Cosmic Castaway games, we've been the best team all season, and that's just a fact. We've played at our peak. We're the best team, and I don't think people are arguing that. We have the most firepower as a team, just top to bottom from roster. We had a slip up against Cosmic Castaways, which is a good team. BDB went to map 5 with them as well, but Otter decided to roll up on Sigma on Nepal, so they lost on Fort. But I think we've just looked as a good team. Dude, 30 seconds is nothing. Give me a minute.
I would love to, but it makes you think fast, and it makes you think about that improv. So, Navino, now you have 30 seconds. Give me a reason why the Beat Drop Bears are going to win this matchup, or tell me why they're going to win this matchup, starting now.
Every single week, everyone's doubted Beat Drop. Everyone's predicted us to lose so many times, and we continually exceed expectations. We have the best backline in the tier, just flat out, and I don't care who's on MI7. MI7 has the best at probably one position. Beat Drop is a better macro team, as has been all season. I'm not shy to say that I'm the best IGL in the tier right now, 100%. So that's why we'll win.
All right, there you go. And I actually missed hitting the buttons there. So there you go. You got 30 seconds as well there. But definitely, there you go. There's the most biased opinions from both of these players. If somehow this match results in a draw, you know why. But here's the funny thing. These two teams are not the only ones fighting for that first seed. It's actually a three-way battle for the first seed in Discord playoffs. Who actually gets it between MI7, Beat Drop Bears, and the Cosmic Castaways, Fish?
Well, I may have an ego, but I'm a realist. And I think the winner, the one seed, will be the Cosmic Castaways. I think they match up incredibly well against Paradise Lost. So I think they are going to have quite the game against them. I think they're going to pull out a win, either a 3-1 or a 4-0, which doesn't really leave us a choice. Obviously, in my opinion, MI7 is going to win the game, but I don't think it's going to be a complete stomp. I do respect the Beat Drop Bears as a team. I think they are at least good enough to win a map off of us. So I'm going to say that if we 3-1 and Cosmic 3-1, Cosmic still gets over us with the head-to-head. So my pick is Cosmic will get the 1 seed.
Navino, what about you? Who is getting the number 1 seed in the Discord tier playoffs?
I said Beat Drop because I think we beat MI7 and then we're 3-0. And Yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, I mean, so your reasoning's not that hard.
It's literally as simple as as long as we win, we're number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Really quick, just want to go over this because we won't talk about it at any other time in the podcast. If the 1 seed will most likely play Avalon, the 2 seed will most likely play Rem, and the 3 seed in A pool will most likely play.
The 3 seeds from B pool. So 3 seed
Yeah,
in
it
A
would
pool
be-
goes to 5 and 6. It's 3.
So
Trig.
the third place team in Pool A is the 5th seed. So
Yeah,
they
they
would probably play
Trig.
Trig. It would be Trig or Wildcat Boys would be who they. Maybe we should throw. Hold on.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying, man. It's rough. It's like, who cares? I know. I'm winning for a different reason. I don't care about the standings. I want to beat you.
I'm winning to not lose to Hayden. That's really what.
Yeah, there you go.
there you go. I mean, that's how it goes. But I can tell you, I did the calculations for every single position every team can get in Pool A, and I swear to God, it looks like something that could be used to create a Philosopher's Stone. It looks messy, and I did not want to do the same thing for B, because B is even worse. Speaking of Group B, let's go over to that and talk about the Wildcat Boys, who look really strong so far in Stage 2, and they have 1 match left against Pride. Do you think that they can lock up the number 3 seed, or will they fall and lose it to either Trigonometric or Pride Fish?
I believe that the Wildcat Boys will win against Pride next week. I think we kind of saw last week where a team with a lot of firepower and a stacked roster kind of just, kind of outmatched them. I think good coaching can only take you so far. So I think Cat Boys win, and I think they lock up that 1 seed.
Navino, are the Wildcat Boys getting that number 3 seed?
I don't actually think so. I think they've been the definition of inconsistency this season. So I think that's really going to bite them in the butt, because they can't just win every map 5. If they do, great. But if they just keep going to map 5, statistically, at some point they're going to lose a map 5. And I think Trig is a better team right now. So I think it'd be poetic justice for Trig to make it over Wildcat Boys right now. Yeah. Now, I would love to be proven wrong, but
yeah, it'll be one heck of a match to see this week between Wildcat Boys and Pride. We'll see if Wildcat Boys are able to get that number 3 seed after a pretty good stage number 2. Let's go over to the next group, which is Pool C, and we have to talk about them because they were last year's champions and they didn't look strong in stage number 1. Reminiscence. They have bounced back, and now they only have 1 match left against Ragnarok Loki. It has not been clean for them. They have not had a perfect really score so far. I'm pretty sure their matches are 3-2 and 3-1 in weeks 8 and 7 respectively. But can they defend themselves against Ragnarok Loki and claim the 7th seed in the playoffs, Fish?
Yes. I think their win over, even if they lost against Avalon, I still think I would still be confident into this game, but especially with the win over Avalon, which I think is a really big win for their confidence. Avalon has looked really good this season, and I think that's just a big win to turn things in the right direction. So I think they win, and I think they win pretty convincingly.
Navino, do Reminiscence have the opportunity to get that number 7 seed?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a world where Loki wins. Let alone, I don't even see him taking a map right now. Loki, ever since they took that 1 map versus Trig, and then Trig ended up being good, we're like, oh, maybe Loki's good, and then Loki's kind of gone like this. So I would love to be wrong. I think Loki has a talented roster. It's just I've not seen any signs of life from them since that Trig game, which was week 1.
Yeah, so definitely will be interesting to see how well Loki can defend off against Reminiscence. So we'll see how well it's able to do. Let's go over now to Pool D, because there's an interesting team that I honestly think we will be talking a lot this season. That's Redacted. I'm wearing their shirt today because this is perfect transition. Redacted had a very subpar stage 1, but now they've bounced back, and now they find themselves in prime position to get the number 11 seed in the playoffs. Their only obstacle, however, is the Pukin Dogs. Do they come out on top, Fish?
I don't know, man. It doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense. They weren't supposed to. I don't know. Pukin Dogs were not supposed to lose last game, so it kind of like throws the rotation and it puts everything in shambles. I have no clue. I'm gonna go with Redacted. I don't know. They've won like a bunch of games in a row, and I believe in momentum, and I think I'm gonna pick them.
Navino, are Redacted getting that number 11 seed, or are the Pukin Dogs snatching it away?
Even though they lost to Maelstrom, I'm gonna trust in Zorthcon here. It's just, it's such a hard game to call because I don't think Redacted looks that great. I don't think Pukin Dogs looked great last game. Like, losing to Maelstrom is something they should not have done, but like they did. I don't know. It's such a weird thing. So I'm just going with Pukin Dogs though. That's my gut feeling.
Yeah.
I think I'm respecting the fact that Redacted had. I think Redacted has had the more impressive stage 2, especially like with the map like 3-1 over Maelstrom, which is a game that I expected them to lose. I think that's kind of my reason.
Yeah, it'll definitely be an interesting match to watch. We'll see if Redacted are able to get that undefeated stage for stage number 2 to get that number 11 seed. Let's wrap up the Discord tier with the Pool E coverage with Adrenaline and Tempest, who are both undefeated so far this stage. They face off this week to determine the number 13 seed. Fish, is the storm brewing, or will Adrenaline keep up the momentum to get their 3rd win of the stage?
Another really tough game. I think this is a coin flip. But I'm going to go with who I believe. When in doubt, I'm going to pick who I feel like have the better roster. And so I'm going to go with Tempest.
Navino, who do you think is winning this matchup?
Oh, Adrenaline. I've been an Adrenaline stan since they got into this group. I think they've just, like, they play the comp they want to play well. So, yeah, that's simple.
There you go. We'll definitely see how well Adrenaline is able to do up against Tempest this week in that matchup, and we'll see how these matches go along as we enter into the final week. Let's wrap up the section on the playoff scenarios with the Transcendence tier, and we have to start off with, of course, the team that many people were saying was a top-tier team entering last week, the Billings Boomers, who unfortunately came off a big upset loss to Amnesia last week, and now they have to face off against the Guangzhou Gangsters in their final match of the week. Fish, do the Billings Boomers still have it in them to take on the Juggernauts of the tier and potentially deny them of that 1st seed?
No shot. No shot. Sorry, guys. I love you. No shot.
You don't even say anything. I agree with Fish here, unless they they just don't seem to care.
Kim has to injure his wrist and not be able to show up.
Yeah, something like that. That's for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely, like, again, we were always talking about, like, Billings Boomers are the best contention that Guangzhou Gangsters have. Billings Boomers can definitely take on the Guangzou Gangsters. And then last week happened.
I think that was originally, though, because, like, we all assumed Amnesia would, like, just kind of roll over and lose to, Guangzhou, like, 4-0. But they didn't. They played them actually pretty close and pretty well.
Right.
So it was like...
I also think... specifically, this is me. I really expected Guangzhou to not be as good this season. I just thought the changes they made were not like their core had been together for so long. I was like, oh, you're changing pieces. You're changing what made the team special, but their stability and Cam's ability to just control a team and make it a really good environment and keep the team driven and motivated. They're the same team. They're like, they've not changed. They're just as good. Like, Frozen's great, and Frozen's a better player than Vinny or North, but they still play together as a team.
Yeah, so it's definitely gonna be interesting to see how well the Billings Boomers are able to hold up against the Guangzhou Gangsters. We'll see if Guangzhou Gangsters are going to get that undefeated season here in season 10. Let's go over to the next group, and we just talked about one marsupial team. We have to talk about the Nether, and that is the Devil Dukes. I'm waiting for the frame drop. It didn't happen. Okay. The Devil Dukes, they have had the worst start to a stage in their history as a team. They are currently 0-2. They have one match left against Singularity. Fish, do you think that they can come out on top to lock in the number 9 seed, or is this the first time a Marsupial team is going winless in a stage?
They'll win. They're gonna win. I believe. I think this is a good matchup for them. I think they're playing a team that is about as unconfident as they are. So I think that is that's good for them. And I think a little birdie has told me that Devil Dukes is trying some new stuff out. So I have hope.
We'll definitely see if that's the case. Navino, what is your take? Are the Devil Dukes getting a win, or are they going winless in stage 2?
I just hope that my hatred of the Devil Dukes motivates them to do something, because I don't. I literally wrote in the outline, press X to doubt. Because I do not think that they're going to beat them right now. You know, I'd love to be wrong, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, well, definitely be interesting to see if the Devil Dukes can overcome the adversity and try to stop themselves from going winless in this stage. It'll be one heck of a storyline if they somehow go winless in this stage and then make it to the second place in the championship bracket again, because it's just a trend at this point, but we'll see how that match goes out. Last question I have for you guys here, and it's up against in C Pool. Just Better Incorporated and Throwing Her Bad are facing off this week to determine the number 8 seed in the Transcendence tier. Will the Trash Cats find treasure, or will JBI's stock market rise very high, Fish?
I'm gonna go Just Better Inc. I really liked the Reckless Delta versus Just Better Inc. game. That is like sneakily one of my favorite games in Trank this season. I really enjoyed it. And I think both teams were a lot better than I expected in that game. So I think I like Just Better Inc. I've liked how they looked the last couple of weeks. I thought their Hive Mind win was cool, and I thought they played really well against Reckless Delta. So I'm going Just Better Inc.
Navino, what's your take? Who's taking home that win in this matchup?
I said Throwing Her Bad. I think just the tank differential here. I think Patient just looked really, really good. And I don't think JBI will be able to handle it. So right now, I'm thinking Throwing Her Bad.
Definitely. We'll see how that matchup goes up between TOB and JBI. But there is all your playoff scenarios as we enter into the final week of the regular season. Now it's time to talk about what matches we are watching this week as we enter Stage 2, Week 3, the final week of the regular season. Fish, what matchup are you watching this week? And give me a prediction for the score.
Him. I'm watching MI7 beat Drop Bears. It's got to be. MI7 will win, and it will be a 3-2.
Navino, what matchup are you watching this week?
I mean, obviously, honestly, I'm going to go with Posh Champ Onigiri.
Good choice.
And I think Posh Champ wins 3-1.
All right, we'll see how well that matchup between the Harmony tier Juggernauts. We talked a lot about the top teams with these two predictions, but I'm actually going to go to a middle of the road Transcendence tier, sort of. Go for Hammerhead versus Fleet Angels. We mentioned them earlier. These are two teams that are very closely contested, and honestly, it could be a toss-up between either one. I'm going to say it's a 3-2 win for Hammerhead. I believe that they can get the win over Fleet Angels and lock up that higher seed. So we'll see how well our predictions hold up as we enter into the final week of the playoffs. Now, or the final week of the regular season, not the playoffs. But speaking of the playoffs, there's some extra information about that. But before we get into that, if you like the predictions that we had here, I have some very good news. Either directly after this broadcast or at 10 p.m. Eastern, Predicting Tranquility will be hosting its last show of the season, where Nerfed, Private Ryan, and Dexatron will be predicting every single match happening in the last week of the regular season, so you do not want to miss that program. after the Iris podcast. In addition, we have all our feature matches this week. On Tuesday, the Jersey Boys and the Fighting Potatoes face off in a fan favorite matchup in the Harmony tier. On Wednesday, the Transcendence tier will feature the Battle of the Juggernauts, the Guangzhou Gangsters, facing off against the Billings Boomers. And on Thursday, might change, but right now it is scheduled to be Avalon versus Phoenix in the Discord tier. All of those matches are at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. In addition, we have all of our other programmings, assuming none of them get canceled. Sticko. On Tuesday, right after the Harmony tier feature, Silver Slander will be featured. On Saturday at 10:30 p.m., Bronze Banter will be going on, assuming it isn't canceled. And assuming it also is not canceled, After Scrims tonight with Lord Thuggington will be taking place on Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Before we get into what's going to be happening next week, I do have to make an announcement about something that we've done every single year toward the playoff season. Those that have been with Tranquility for a bit will recognize that we have a segment every year in the playoffs known as In Memoriam, where we pay respect to all the teams that have unfortunately been eliminated from the tournament. Because of what happened earlier this season with the passing of Seijitashi from Aimbots, I have made the executive decision to not host In Memoriam this season, simply because I think it is better to pay respects. It's better to not do something like that, especially after we lost a member of our community this season. So that unfortunately we're not going to be having In Memoriam this season. So anyone who is looking forward to me roasting all of the teams in Tranquility, you're going to have to wait until season 11 or look back at season 9. So I hate to say that, but that is unfortunately going to be this case this season. Bad news aside, make sure you come next week at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, because it is the Bracketology Megacast, a collaboration, of course, with the Iris Podcast and Predicting Tranquility, where we predict every single match in every single tier for our brackets. We construct our own playoff brackets and try to determine who is the champion in every single tier. Make sure to tune in and clip all the moments that you can so that you can prove how wrong we are when the playoffs officially start next week on Tuesday. Gentlemen, is there anything that you would like to say before I announce our giveaway winner for a free shirt like this one from the Tranquility Store at spreadshirt.com/tranquilitygg, exclamation point store in the chat?
Hashtag GCG win.
Hashtag Cam in the retirement home, please. Win your games, y'all. Win your games, Forehead.
Just win easy. That's how you get up in the rankings here. But can I get a drum roll, please? Your winner for a free shirt from the Tranquility Store is Drug777. Congratulations, Drug, for winning a free shirt from the Tranquility Store. We'll be getting in contact with you about your giveaway information right after this broadcast. But that is going to do it for us here today. For Fish and Navino, my two wonderful analysts that continually talk no matter whatever it takes. My name has been Balzi. We thank you all for gazing into the iris with us here tonight. And until we meet again, we hope you have an amazing week in Tranquility, and we hope to see you again next week. Make sure to stay tuned after the broadcast for Predicting Tranquility.
Experience tranquility. Pass into the iris.